What are y'all doing? Anybody watching, let me know if you're having trouble hearing me. I have to have the window unit on because it's a little muggy here. I'll give time for people to get in here, and then y'all can let me know. We are finally back to live streams. I'm gonna let some folks get in here, at least one or two, and then we'll get going. But I think the microphone is sensitive enough that it'll pick me up over the window unit noise. Well, I will go ahead and hello, Herb Hooper. I am feeling better. Good to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and show y'all what we'll be working on today. I'm going to share my screen in order to do that. I say today, but it's 1:46 a.m. here. This is the pattern we'll be working on. Found a whole bunch of new Native American pictures, and that's one of my favorite themes to do. This particular one is Chief Black Eagle. He's a crow. Crow Indian, or Native American, however you want to say it. And these are two other ones I plan on working on at some point, and I've already cropped those down. The reason why I crop them down is so that I can make it more of a portrait like this one, and because the closer up it is for me to make into a pattern, the more I can make it look like the individual. But if you're doing something, far back like this, if you try to get all that detail in, you're going to have less detail showing in the face because you'd have to cut it larger than I usually cut it in order to do that. So that's why we crop these down. But for the sake of things, this is White Swan. He's a Crow Indian. This one is Chief American Horse, and he's a Sioux. And this is just a guy laying in front of a fireplace. So there's that. We're going to stop sharing, and we're going to get started. Hello, Sioux man. Good to be back. Appreciate y'all being here. Let me put the camera back. I knew at least two people would be Herb and Aussie Manville, but yeah, my days and nights because of again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about myself. Dealing with painful medical issues. They have subsided for the last day and a half or last day. So I wanted to get back on it. I know it's a weird hour for the U.S. viewers, but that's okay. Not all my viewers are U.S. viewers. So there's that. And I'm having trouble finding my razor blade right as I start, because that is one of the processes. The reason why you're looking at a piece of glass is because, and hey, Chuck Turner, appreciate you being here, sir. Again, if anybody's watched all my live streams, you're going to hear me repeat stuff because not everybody catches all of them from start to finish. For starters, I do my patterns on paper, and I do it on a sheet of glass because I'm literally, it's a little more complex than just tracing. But when we're using a pen, we don't want it to, like you can see there's gouges and smudges all over the tabletop here, and I will get that reflection gone here in a second. Let me go ahead and get that gone now. That's a little annoying. Anyway, when I'm tracing on that paper, I don't want any texture with the pen going over scratches and gouges in the tabletop. This is an old rustic tabletop out in my office of my shop, so it's not pristine anyway, but we don't want any texture. We want it to be completely smooth, and that's the reason for the glass. It feels like I haven't been here in a week. I don't know how long it's been, but it feels like an eternity. So there's that. Now, when I'm working on a pattern, let me go back to screen sharing and I'll explain it. When I work on a pattern that has detail on it, even though these aren't real large, my way of zooming in on paper is to split this into, or after I've cropped it, I will split it into two sheets of paper, and that allows me to quote unquote zoom in closer by having it on two sheets of paper instead of just one, because obviously printing it on just one sheet of paper limits the size. And I am referring to the size of me being able to print it out on a single sheet of paper. That's why I split it in half. And let me get back over to the Hoosier website. And so that is why I print it in half. This is both halves. And I was thinking today, because I'm so into making patterns for other people, if you ever want to make your own patterns but aren't trying to sell them, you can use the same method directly onto the wood with transfer paper underneath it. But I've been doing this for God knows how many years, and I still make mistakes, as y'all have seen on these other pattern live streams. So it's better to do it on paper, and you can edit it and all that crap in the computer if you so choose. I only use the computer for the sake of cleaning up and coloring in for the sake of public display. You don't have to do that. And I have to bring that up because I have those 6 downloadable videos on my website, and I did get somebody that was upset, and rightfully so. Although the title says how to make scroll saw patterns on paper, it was the portrait video. The purpose of me teaching how to make patterns on paper is only to show the paper portion. I show the computer part just to satisfy curiosity and to show people the whole process. But as far as me teaching, the purpose is only with the part that's done on paper. The rest of it is strictly visual. So please know that if you go to buy one of the 6 downloadable videos from woodenvisions.com on how to make your own patterns, I am not trying to teach the computer portion. I'm only showing it. But the paper part I am trying to teach, and I'll do the same thing on this video, and you're not paying a penny for it. What I do is you're gonna see me tracing things. You're gonna see me changing my mind. You'll see me, every decision is made on the fly. Now the downloadable videos I made were just like this, except for I edited out all the ums and ha's, but you get to hear me change my mind in real time because I want people to know every process I go through. And as you've seen on the last couple pattern live streams, or at least 2 out of the 3, they didn't come out the way I wanted them, and that happens. But you don't usually see that because I'm usually selling. Anyway, just to not waste paper, I'm going to cut off, well, it is wasting paper technically. Anyway, I'm going to cut off this white part, and I'll tape it up against under here, so I'll be able to line it up for the next sheet of paper. But we start, and I know that was a lot to say, but I had a lot to cover. Anyway, I'm going to get a clean sheet of paper, which is part of the process. This is how to make patterns on paper. But it's not how to do it on a computer. I just show you. I really got to keep bringing that up because although it says it in the title, I did offer a refund because I don't want anybody upset. But apparently that was the part he wanted to learn the most, was the computer part. But, there is that. And, of course, I'm going to have focus issues. Hello. Come on now. Let me change the screen around. That's wonderful. Let me try screen sharing and unscreen sharing. Because, we love technology. Nope, we're not going to get it, are we? Alrighty then. Let's just move the camera around. Come on now. What did y'all do to my camera? There we go. Nice and sharp. Only takes a little bit. Okay. Gotta love live. Anyway, okay, so we start out with a clean sheet of paper. And then I keep telling y'all about this carbon paper, but I never provide a link because that would be way too organized. But I get my carbon paper, I searched all over online, and I finally found that it was dark enough. And for pattern lines, I like dark. I don't like pencil light. And these come in very large sheets. I cut them down to relatively page size. It's from CRE, Cedar Rock Enterprises on Amazon. I wish I had some kind of affiliate link, but I don't, because I've been telling everybody about them. Anyway, most carbon paper traces it barely the darkness of a pencil line, and I like very dark lines when I'm making my pattern. So if anybody's having trouble hearing me, let me know, because I am fighting with a window unit noise. But believe it or not, it's a little warm here in Texas, at least to me, inside my shop. Anyway, so what I'm doing now, this is Cedar Rock Enterprises. It's I don't know if they refer to it as carbon paper or transfer paper, but you should be able to find it on Amazon. That is where I go. And I go through a bunch of it. I do keep the used ones for tracing patterns onto wood. but I use brand new ones for doing patterns because I don't want any skips in the line. And I'm just taping this down so nothing moves, and I do that with the printed out piece too. Does anybody have any comments or questions so far? Says we have 6 folks watching. I appreciate it. For those watching on Facebook, I am told that most often the video quality in chat is more active on, well, the video quality is usually better on YouTube, and the chat is usually more active on YouTube, if that matters to you. I'll retake this corner. And if you do go to YouTube, I hope you'll subscribe and click on that bell. You'll never miss a live feed, even if it's 3 in the morning. It's almost 2 in the morning. Anyway, so even if you came in late, if you have any questions, I don't mind repeating myself. I'm gonna go a little off the top here. No, let's stay consistent. Now, when I tape this down, I make sure there's 2 edges showing, because I don't have this. Aussie Man has asked. That's a very good question. Aussie Man says, why not get a bigger piece of glass and do it all in one go? Okay, for 2 reasons. I have this little bitty area of desk, and I don't know really how to answer that, but that's a good question. I just don't have a bigger sheet of glass. I don't have a big enough surface area to do it on, and I like doing things the hard way, if you ask my dad. But yeah, I guess you could do it that way and go ahead and bump the camera for good measure. I I always expose 2 edges so I can make sure this is lined up, because when I go to do the second half of this pattern, we don't want any of it to be crooked, because when you splice them back together on the computer, it will be crooked, and it still sometimes happens anyway because I'm human. But we're going to tape this down too so it won't move. Find something heavy to put on it. And because I need something heavy, there's nothing nearby. I'll use that. Alrighty then. Yeah, I guess I could do it on a much larger sheet of glass. If I had a lot more surface area on my desk, I'd probably go that route. But I'd still be doing it a sheet at a time anyway, so it kind of works out. I don't mind. Yeah, that's just how I do it. And for those that don't use Facebook or don't have me as a friend on Facebook, y'all may have been wondering where I was. I don't like to talk about myself necessarily, so I'm just letting y'all know that I was having medical issues, nothing life-altering that I'm aware of yet. So people on Facebook knew why I wasn't doing live feeds, but people on YouTube may not have, and that's why I'm telling you. But yeah, as long as I'm able, I will. Again, we're taping this down so nothing moves, because once you start tracing, if something moves, it's going to all kinds of off kilter. I'm actually surprised to have 7 people watching at this hour, but then again, it's not, it's a more reasonable hour in other countries, UK and otherwise. I don't want to go into too much detail about the issues I was having because of, just trying to stay friendly here, but we'll just say kind of pain only a man can have. And there's just some things you can't put your mind past. At least I can't. We're almost ready. Now, yes, this can be, depending on the picture, it can be a very long, involved process. I mean, so if you haven't watched these live streams before, they're not usually 30 minutes to an hour. They're usually much longer than that. And all this talk about my issues, I'm starting to feel some. But anyway, I'm flipping it over just to cut the white part off of the other one so I can tape it up next to the other one to make sure that the lines will continue, and I'll explain that better here in a second. I'm just cutting off the excess. Pooper says, I know that feeling's like somebody's got you with a pair of channel locks. You know what? I'm not being inappropriate. It's medical. I was having severe testicular pain, and if you've ever had that kind of pain, you can't just take your mind off of it. It's there. We thought it might have been kidney stones, and if it was, then I passed them. But I also they say not to Google your symptoms because you'll find out you have all kinds of stuff. But could have also been something as simple as testicular torsion, which means basically twisting, and I think that might have been the case. Okay, awesome, man. Hurry back. Yeah, so the concern came, besides the pain, the concern came when I had blood involved, but that dissipated after the first day. It started fading, but I was a little paranoid. And I'm not one of the people that rushes out to emergency room if I get a little boo-boo kind of thing. Hello, Burton Soares. I'm also in the process to make a pattern. Notification of your video came up, so took a break. Sweet. Good to know it, Burton. I love this. This is one of my favorite themes, and this is one of those pictures that I say, quote unquote, jumped out at me. Just the lights and darks, and I love the rugged look of a lot of the Native American faces. And again, and I'll explain while I'm Burton, you must be in the UK or somewhere else because it's 2:02 a.m. here, but it's good whatever time it is. I don't usually do live streams this early in the morning for me, but my sleep schedule, because of the pain, has been erratic, and the drugs I've been on, the legal drugs, some of them knocked me in my butt, and I needed that. And I think my body caught up today, and we're good. But again, I don't like to talk about myself any more than necessary. Oh, you're in India. Wow. What time is it there in India? And Chris Messier over on Facebook says, morning, it's been a long time. Don't know if you remember me or not. Messman's Woodworking. Yes, sir, I do. It's been a long time. Good to see you here. I appreciate you watching. By the way, those watching on Facebook, you cannot see YouTube comments, and those watching on YouTube can't see the Facebook comments. 9 times out of 10, there's more viewers on YouTube than Facebook. They got 2 on Facebook and 7 on YouTube right now. That's 1:33. I guess he means PM since they said afternoon. So yeah, wow. What's that? Wow. I never knew you were in India. Oh, dang. I appreciate y'all joining me. It's a thrill that I have more than just a couple people here, but even when it's only a couple, it's fun. Excuse my lack of professionalism, but I am a smoker, so the ashtray might be in the shot. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just doing it. Anyway, the only part we're working on right now is from here up. The reason why I left that little gap is to let y'all know, or if you're not from the South, to let you all know that there's a second sheet of paper. We're not drawing on this part of it right now, but we're putting it there so that when I'm drawing lines, I'll know where to stop, because sometimes you can't tell what's on this lower half. If you're going by memory, you have to think, well, is there anything else that comes right at that line? And by taping it up next to it, my channel name on YouTube technically is Charles Deering Scroll, but you should be able to find me under Charles Deering. It's a wood grain version of me pointing. Chris Messier asking my channel name on YouTube. You should be able to find it under Charles Deering, but I think the technical name is Charles Deering Scroll. And if anybody watching on YouTube wants to connect on Facebook at any point, I go by the Charles Deering, and that's all one word, and that's on Facebook. And thank you for asking, Chris. I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so like another example, because that's the nose. I mean, I haven't determined yet. This may be one of those patterns I haven't determined yet. I always decide as I go if this is going to be one of those that has a wooden background or where the background is cut out. We'll play that as we go, or decide that as we go. But a good example of continuing. Okay, I don't know how well y'all can see that. You might be able to see it. Let me see. This little light piece of detail here, there's a tiny point right in here. that comes from the top to the bottom. Now, if I didn't have that there, I wouldn't have known how far that came down, because if it stopped just at that line, I would have just made the point there. So this is why I have that second sheet of paper there while I'm working on it. Actually, what I could do for you, Chris Messier, is I can just go to my own channel on YouTube and I can put the link in the chat there. Oh, wait, I don't know if it'll show up on Facebook. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that for you, I'm afraid. Because if I get too many tabs open, this will go slow. But anyways, that's an example of why I hold it up next to each other, because you can see there's pieces from the bottom that are coming into the top, detail-wise. So hopefully y'all can see those. If not, let me know. But per the usual, I'm going to start with the eyes, because that's always my favorite place to start. If anybody has any trouble seeing specific things, let me know, and I will try to adjust the camera, but at some point it'll be in my way if I go too much lower. But an example is there's going to be some guesswork just based on anatomy, because some things don't show up real good. And right now, the only piece of light I have to work with is this one little line right here. So I have to invent some breaks in the shadows in order to create more light to make this more of a solid bridge, so to speak. You can have floaters on a scroll saw pattern as long as you save the waist area around them. And I have 99% of my patterns don't have floaters, intentional floaters. But if I do have one that has an intentional floater, it is mentioned somewhere on that pattern saying intentional floaters, or floaters are intentional, save the waist area around them to aid in gluing to the backer. So that adds to realism. But on this one, we're going to try to make it work. And y'all probably can't even see it because I could barely see it. But there's just a little bit of white here in the eyes showing. So we may use that to help solidify. And I know I'm doing a lot of talking right now, but that's to explain the whole process. And also, you will notice if I stay quiet, besides my usual talking, it is me trying to think of where I want to start or where I want to go next during the pattern. And that's what I'm doing while I'm talking right now. I know I want to start with the eye, but I got to find a starting point of where to go from there. And sometimes they are very brittle, even after I'm done, but sometimes I fix those brittle areas in the computer portion, but that's only for public display. The pattern itself does not have to be done on the computer. And I may make decision changes as I go. This is going to be a little bridge between the bottom of the eye and the top of the eye so far. The area I just traced is going to be the white part of the eye beside the iris, because not much else is showing in here. It can be very brittle, but we're going to try to make it hold on back here as well. So right now I'm just getting a general idea of the shape, and then we'll work on the detail inside of it. And if anybody has any questions, I don't mind stopping to answer or whatever the case is. Because we all learn somehow. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And some things translate well, some things don't. So we're going to learn together what's going to work. And y'all, when I first started doing, I've done 2 or 3 patterns, recently anyway, 2 or 3 patterns that were, during a live stream. And y'all got to see me, the struggles I was having and the mistakes, for lack of a better word, that I was making. But that is to show no matter how long you've been doing it, it can still be a struggle. At least for me, it can. So I don't regret those live feeds. I just regret that it wasn't a success, because, you want it to be a success. I'm going to break up this line so we have a little more meat, so to speak. And I may make that a little beefier. Okay, we have. I may need to make that bridge wider when I make it colored in and cleaned up, but I'm trying to determine how to tie this in, because I want to figure out what that detail is. I don't know if it's the corner of the eye or what. I think it is. So that's why I'm sitting here still for so long. So I know I can correct it on the computer, but I still want to eliminate the need for that if I can while I'm working. So let me just kind of fiddle with it. Okay, I think what I'm going to do. See, I thought I had a solution, but then I changed my mind as I was going, which is why I do these on live stream, because these aren't always just 100% smooth. And I'm trying not to confuse myself in that area as well. This eye may end up looking completely different once I'm done with the whole pattern. It just all depends on how it feels at the time. I don't know what I want to do in that area, and I don't know why I'm struggling so much, but I am. It'd be easy to just pull a line down, but I'm trying to stay as true to the photograph as I can, which is part of the struggle. But I love the lights and darks on here and how rugged his face looks. That's part of why I chose this picture first. Burton Soares says, in what resolution do you print the picture? Well, the picture itself being printed, I can only print it in the resolution that it is, but I scan it in to my scanner at 300 dpi. But as far as resolution, I look for the larger pictures because I can zoom in on those like I was able to on this to print it out into 2 sheets. But if this was a blurry photo and I enlarged it, it would just be a enlarged blurry photo. So I don't really change the resolution. I hope that answered your question. See, I think I started tracing too fast in this area, and that's why I'm struggling with what to do where. Okay, so yeah, I think that's what we'll go with there. So there's a thin bridge here, and even thinner bridge there, so it may thicken that up at some point. But I hope that answered your question, Burton. I don't change the resolution for. Chris Messier says that's the truth. You will almost always make a mistake. You will always change your mind as the nature of making patterns. Amen. I have a blast making patterns, even when I screw them up. And for anybody that's interested, if you don't follow me on Facebook, you don't know this, but I just recently added 3 Kobe Bryant scroll saw patterns to woodenvisions.com. You're welcome, Burton. So if y'all are interested, there's one that's relatively simple, one that's pretty detailed and tall. It's more of a full body, and another one that's kind of a half body from the same pattern. If you want to find those specifically, just go to woodenvisions.com and do a search for Kobe, Kobe, and all 3 patterns will come up. And you bet your butt we're going to have our Dr. Pepper here, my golly. Alive or dead, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. Anyway. Okay. There's a little bit. I'm going to keep pointing out things because I don't know how well they show up. There's a little bitty line right here of a wrinkle. So I either want to go all the way across with the light or just suggest it. So while I'm being quiet, it's me deciding what I want to do and trying to see it as best I can. I think since it barely shows up, I'm just going to suggest that line going partway across. And we'll just do it like that. But just that little, for the sake of explaining my decision making, just that little bitty line right there suggests the white part of the eye. So you kind of have a tiny bit more dimension to where you can see his eye. And some of this doesn't even show up barely to me, much less y'all. That's the rest of the iris. And I'm trying to stay as true to the photograph as I can. That's why I'm just jumping around. But in some areas, some things don't translate well for a scroll saw pattern, and it can also look chaotic, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, but sometimes I can. And a lot of people make, I can't speak for other designers because I don't know them all. A lot of people make their patterns on computer programs alone. I can't do that. I have almost no know-how when it comes to computer programs. I use PaintShop Pro, and that's not even available anymore. I just use it to connect lines that might not have scanned good or not pressing hard enough with the pen. I just use that to connect those lines and clean it up for public display. And I don't know about y'all, but I can't control a computer mouse. And I know they have digital pens, but I've been doing it this way for so long, I feel like I have more control. Okay, so technically this eye is done. And believe it or not, the exciting part is once you see it popped, once you've colored it in, even though you see me sitting here drawing it, comparing it, I guess, to the original photo. And Chris Messier said, in my opinion, the eyes are the hardest part to the pattern. I somewhat agree. On this one, yes. Because with me, I'm literally, most of the time, I'm tracing what I see. So the hard part is determining what to keep and not to keep. But I think we're saying the same thing. I'm just wording it differently. Because some things, and I can't really explain it. Like, okay, one of them might be this. I'm not saying I won't do that. But the shadow on the upper lip, that's an example of one thing that may not translate well. And when I say translate well, some things in a photograph, you see it so your eyes believe it. But if you're trying to make it into a drawing or a scroll saw pattern, it may not translate well. But I may connect this shadow right here, right into the lip when I get to that point, because we are trying to stay true to the photograph. So there's that. Chris Messier says, that is how I made my patterns when I could. You say when you could, are you no longer able to make patterns? I guess I'm confused. Because we haven't talked in so long, Chris, hopefully I'm not getting too personal. And plus, I'm talking so much, I'm not entirely sure which comment you were addressing. Now, right now, as I'm doing this eyebrow area, I'm trying to ask myself if is this going to be having a wooden background or a non-woodworking. Okay, my thoughts are in there. Whenever I design a pattern, it either has a wooden background or it doesn't, meaning it's more so fretwork if there's no background back here made of wood. So in doing this eyebrow, I have to determine if I want a background or not. But since I am a stickler for detail, I may make it a little of both, because I could sort of be true to the photograph here, just kind of scribble and have part of it in darkness and part of it in light. And I think that's the route I'm going to go. Oh, Chris Messier drives the truck now. Yeah, I guess you don't have a whole lot of time for scroll saw patterns. Yeah, I'm going to make this as true to the photograph as I can, as far as I'm going to have partial wooden background and partial not, but maybe not the exact shapes. I'm just going to do kind of there's no method to my madness here. I'm just kind of doing a really abstract shape here. So this face right here, or this forehead and face probably down to about here, is going to be with no background in there, but that's going to be wood. That way we can stay true to the detail we're seeing here. You know, it adds a little abstract, for lack of a better word. I couldn't drive a truck, Chris, because I miss home too much. I'm a homebody. Anyway, okay, so that being said, I don't have to necessarily trace that whole eyebrow way out here, but I can trace enough shapes to give the impression of one. No, you know what? Let's invent a line here. I want to suggest more of the eyebrow than it was actually showing. And I may even change my mind on how much background stays and goes. Like this lower part, I may end up doing the whole thing without a background and having a wooden background here. Or I could decide to make the whole bloody thing. I'm telling you, I really do change my mind a lot on the fly. So. And y'all can see this little triangle looking thing here, a little Y shape for the shadow. I'm gonna trace that as is. At first I was debating if it would look good, but it's there, so let's use it. I can barely see it, so hopefully y'all can. There's a little bit of light to the side of that that iris there on that other eye. So I'm going to take advantage of that and try to add to the realism with it. I'm inventing a little bit of an eyelash just for a little bit of dimension. Then we're going to come right down here. There'll be a little bitty bridge there. Go down the bridge of the nose, and we'll stop at that line, of course. A lot of Native Americans had those high bridge noses like that. Chris Messier says, got to get behind the wheel now. Have a great day, my friend. You too, Chris. I appreciate you dropping by. Drive safe and watch out for them idiot four-wheelers. Come on now. I miss having a CB. Anyway. Okay, right now I'm just looking for where I want to go next, and I think I'm going to do a little bit more detail right here. I'm inventing some of it because it's not real clear, but it is a shadow / wrinkle. And I never get tired of making patterns unless people give me a bunch of crappy photos to work from. But it happens. But yeah, I love doing this. Obviously, if you know me, I've got a few patterns out there because I love to do it. And when I started making patterns, I did it because I didn't like the lack of details in the ones that were out there at the time. And that's not meant it as in any disrespect towards designers of that era. But I never dreamed, although I'm not rich and it's debatable whether or not my name is known, but I never dreamed my name would be known for scroll saw patterns. I didn't even know what a scroll saw was until 1997. And maybe not everybody knows my name for being a designer. They might be that mental guy. You know, I'm okay with that because I can be mental. But life's too short to be at butt nuggets, so let's have a sense of humor about stuff. Now, to me, unless I come across another example, the face is the most important part of a portrait, and to some people that's a big duh. But because, okay, you got feathers and you got little designs on the headdress here, but if you're doing a portrait of somebody, you want it to look like them, so stay as true to the photograph as you can. If that means bloaters and you're okay with dealing with bloaters and gluing them to the backer, that's fine. But like here, if I'm doing the feathers, that's why I'm not being real careful, or whatever those are, because those aren't identifying features to the portrait. It doesn't hurt to stay as true to it as you can, but that's just the case we're dealing with. But you saw how much more time I took there than I was in just tracing all that stuff and just throwing it in there. And I really think this is going to be an awesome pattern when I'm done, if it works out the way I want it to. Again, it's portraits really are about looking like the person. That's why I always start with the eyes and the face in general, because you can make or break a portrait dealing with the face, because some people have a slightly crooked smile, some people have a scar, whatever the case may be. And if you ignore those, it may look fine to you, but the person you're potentially doing the portrait for may be saying, well, that looks nothing like him. It's because you've taken for granted. So if you can stay as true to the detail as you see, the better. And get feedback from the customer, whether it's for a pattern or for a portrait, because you could get blind to everything, but they know that person dearly in most cases. Mr. Steve Good has joined us. Good old friend of mine. I see Steve is burning the midnight oil with us as well. Of course, that's not unusual. Very good to see you, Steve Good. Yeah, I I don't usually do live streams this early in the morning, but here we are. Very, very flattered when you come by, Steve Good, because I know you got a lot going on. Mr. Steve Good, good friend of mine. I can't see him often enough. course, yes, Kimmy might say, no, I need a vacation from you, Charlie. Oh, yeah. And I was, still can't believe this is live stream number 60. And if I hadn't had little health issues, we probably would have been further along by now. But that's all right. Life gets in the way sometimes, and here we are. And I'm having a ball, and I hope y'all are too. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask. Don't be shy. That nobody's going to make you feel stupid for not knowing everything that's going on. That's how we all learn. I'm just generically starting up there, but I'm going to go down, to finish up at least the base here. Sleep is optional, Mr. Steve Good. Steve, I don't want to commit you to it, but per the usual, if for some reason you would like to be on the panel here, I'm not going to force you to do an interview or anything like that. If you would like to just be here for conversation wise, either with me or the audience or both, feel free to let me know and I'll find a way to get you the link. No pressure, but it would be a treat. Okay, so I'm going to trace the shadow here on the forehead here. And another example, this is having to do with dimension. Oh, Steve Good says he's in bed. We don't want to interrupt that. Well, I'm glad that I'm one of the last things you'll see before you go to sleep, Steve. I mean, I apologize ahead of time for your nightmares, but it really is a treat when you stop by because I know you got a lot going on. So I wish we could talk more often, but life is such. Someday I need to arrange it ahead of time to see if you want to come on the panel. I don't want to guilt trip you into it or obligate you into it, but I think it would be a treat. It's up to you 100%. Let me know via email if you're even open to it at any point. But anyway, regarding art and seeing things in general, folks, the reason why the shadows, besides the fact that this is a photograph, what this shadow does that we're tracing right now on the forehead is it's showing dimension. It's showing that headband is not pressed up against his forehead. It's saying it's a little bit loose in the front, and it just gives dimension, is my point. So as far as the face goes, we're done only because we're working on the upper half sheet of paper right now, but then we're going to get into the less fun part, but just as necessary part of doing the headdress and all that, but we don't have to be near as careful as about the detail unless we want it to translate well. Now y'all can see that there's lights and darks in this particular, I'm going to call it a triangle. I'm deciding as I go how much to include. There's more light on this one than that one, so I'll probably include some of that, but not any of that. And the same with this case, we'll add some of that, not all of it. And it's funny too because people say you might get more sales of patterns if you did less detail, but I'm not lying to you. I do not know how to see detail and not add it unless it's chaotic. But I've tried. I can't. It's actually more of a struggle for me to leave out detail than to add it. It's a curse because if I'm looking to make a living off making patterns, I can't do that because not everybody likes detailed patterns. Even if they can cut them, they don't want to spend that much time on a single. If you can, well, I know you're in bed right now, but if I can remember to, I'll get with you via email, Steve Good, and see if we can come up with the type of show you'd want to be on, whether it be a cutting or a pattern thing or just a hangout. I don't know, but yeah, I'll definitely give you a heads up. We can get together on your scheduling. I pretty much have no schedule. Anyway, I forgot where I was at. Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm so into detail because I used to draw before I started doing scroll saw patterns, and I love realism, but I can't see it and then pretend it's not there because to me, almost all of it has a purpose, and it all does usually go back to trying to stay true to the photograph. But what we do as scrollers is such a selling point in itself. Not everybody makes pictures out of wood. Not everybody does, uber detail either, but that is a selling point in itself if you're any good at selling, portraits made of wood. Almost everybody has photographs in their house. A few have drawings in their house, but almost nobody has a wooden portrait in their house. So that's the sellability of it. I can say that, but I still struggle to get sales because I feel like a desperate car salesman. But what we do has so much potential in the right market with the right people, but I haven't tapped into that yet. But I have fun doing it, so that's why I'm still doing it. Okay, I don't want to jump too far ahead. Although there's no particular order I have to go in, it all has to be done. I'm trying to start this way and go this way, but I'm jumping around. It doesn't really matter. Technically, I'm just giving you all my thoughts out loud because that's what I do on these live streams, especially with patterns. These look to be like little, for lack of a better word, jingle bells. So knowing that, I'm trying to maintain their shape since I know what they are. Sometimes that helps if the detail itself doesn't show up much. And some lights and darks I make more prominent in the pattern than they are in the photograph. Like that light right there may not have shown up real well, but it's a good chance to add a break for more stability. So that's what I'm choosing to do on the fly. And we're coming into where there's light shining off of this. And this is, I don't know what this material is called, but it's kind of strandy. I can't think of the word. Strandy, stringy, whatever. So I'm just kind of roughing it in. And this is probably the only triangle portion of this that I'll do this on to this degree because it's the only one that really has that much light and dark on it. The rest of them aren't as prominent. Now, there is a little bit of a white line here. I'm probably going to make it whiter. I say white, it's lighter than the rest of it. I'm going to make that a little bit whiter so that's more stable. So I'm choosing to not trace it right where it is. Same with the one over here. So it's a little less brittle of a bridge right there. And we're just going to suggest that stringiness here because we know the rest of it's kind of stringy. I'm not following any particular shape on there. And we did the same thing here. I don't know if you can tell that. I don't know what shows up on screen and what doesn't. There's a little bit of light on this one, so maybe I should try to use it. Now, I may change my mind again. That's why I'm sitting still, because I'm debating whether or not to add it. No, I'm not going to add the light. We'll just go. See, that's how decisive I am during these things. I'm still doing the outside shape of it, but I'm not worried about the lights shining off of it because the ones that have the most light shining off of it have already been dealt with. I wonder what the technical term for these are. It might just be bells. I might be overthinking it, but I call them jingle bells because that's usually the only time I see them. Neil on Facebook says, "Good morning from the UK." Neil, how do you say your last name? Is that Bull? It looks like BL. I don't know if that's your last name or just an abbreviation or what, but I appreciate you watching, Mr. Neil. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them out there. There's some more of that stringiness over here, by the way, as I just decided to address it. I'm not going to go overkill because we don't want to weaken the area too much. It's really just to suggest a texture. Neil, I don't believe we've talked before, so it's good to have you here, or even if we had talked before. I knew I might get some UK viewers because of a more reasonable hour there right now. It's about 8 a.m., I think, 8:30 a.m. Well, I haven't seen you in a while, Mahindra. Mahindra Tiwari is watching over on YouTube. That's a special treat. Haven't got to see you in forever. Good to see you again. All kinds of old friends are coming out of the woodwork today. This is, no pun intended. That's kind of cool. Got a little bit of light shining off of that bell there, so I'm going to take advantage of it. I may change my mind later when I color it in, but it's there, so I figured I might as well use it. Good old Mahindra. I haven't seen you in forever. We used to see each other's posts all the time over on Facebook. We're going to take our required beverage sip. Y'all bear with me. Every now and then I also need to check to see if YouTube's holding my video for review because they love to do it on live streams. So far they haven't done it here. Excuse me. All right. So we've got the UK, the US, and India so far have been representative in this late night, early morning pattern making. Okay, now this part is a necessary evil. Since I decided to make this pattern, we have to deal with all that detail in there. But because if I did just the base, it'd be a pattern idea, but it's be a lot less appealing to me as a pattern. But I did crop this because for those that may just be joining, you'll see that this right here has been cropped, and I'll show you where I cropped it from. It was cropped from this large photograph right here. The reason why I cropped it to this is the closer up it is, the more detailed I can make it. But I just thought all this down here was kind of a unnecessary detail. I know these clouds are kind of cool here, and that looks pretty neat artistically, but yeah, I figured, let's just crop it, and there we go. So that's what we're dealing with. And the same with these two Native Americans here. They were cropped from these photographs. And I love Native American. I don't know how to explain it. So let me stop screen sharing. Well, I appreciate it, Mahindra. Okay. I forgot why I brought up that I cropped this, but at least you got to see it. Okay. Now, if I were to trace this just as I see it, at least at a quick glance, it would be very brittle. So I'm going to probably add little bridges in there that aren't there, but it won't take away from it too much, I don't think. And I'm being kind of sloppy because, it's not crisp, clear detail that matters too much, except for trying to stay true to the photograph, but it doesn't have a known shape to it, so it's okay. I'm just going to add a little bridge here that's not even there, just for stability. Again, this line right here is, I'm only tracing this upper half. This is just tape here, so I know what's the next half of the pattern. This little bridge right here will help stabilize this area here. And there's some stuff sticking out. I'm not even entirely sure what it is, but it's there, so I'm going to trace it and kind of rough it in. And all this little bead work right here, I may make slightly wider, just for thickness and stability. And we're going to invent some bridges in here so that middle part doesn't fall out. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to throw them out there because I don't want anybody to have to assume anything. I don't want you to leave this live stream if you're watching it live. I don't want you to have to leave with a bunch of guesses even if you're seeing this 20 years down the road, if YouTube's still around, ask me, and if I'm still breathing, I'll I'll answer any questions I can. I'm inventing quite a few bridges here just for stability, and I'm going to repeat that a few times like I already have. Now, these live streams are fun for me, but people either love them or they hate them. I've lost, it's not about subscriber numbers, but I've lost about 30 subscribers since I started doing these live streams. But I like the interaction, and I like to be able to answer questions right when people have them. And it's therapeutic for me too, mentally and physically, to do these live streams. So I apologize for those of you it runs off, but I'm not going to change what I'm doing because I'm having fun. Any changes I make to my channel, I want to be for the good. And for me, this is a good direction. But I'm not really changing the channel. I still have project videos, but more likely you're going to see them as live streams, and sometimes there's a time-elapsed version for those who don't want to sit through hours of a live stream. I get it. I'm passionate about scrolling, but I mean, I admire anybody that can sit there and watch somebody else scroll. It's like watching paint dry to a degree, even if you love it. So I get it. For me, it takes a lot for me to unsubscribe from somebody, but that's just me. Not everybody's me, which is probably good. Now this right here, I don't know if y'all can see that. Looks like kind of a random stringy area, so I'm ignoring that. That's why I didn't draw it in. It just seemed to go against the grain of everything else in that area. That's why I left it out. And these are things you can decide on as you're doing it. Anytime you see me being still or being quiet, it is me trying to decide what I want to do with what detail I see or where I want to go next. And I don't always get it right at the time, in my own opinion anyway. What's right is debatable. It's up to you, really, or the customer you're doing it for. I keep seeing my headphone cords getting in the way, and I really don't even need the headphones. So I took them off so the cord will stop distracting me. Decide where we want to go next. It's all got to be done. These might be obvious to some people, but these are wrapped feathers down here at the end. And that's why I kind of did the wiggly line, is because it's not going to be crisp, clear, straight lines. It could be if you wanted them to be, but in trying to stay true to the photograph, I'm doing the wiggly lines, and it, just suggests the roughness with which they were wrapped. Yeah, I hope that made sense. In my head, it made perfect sense. But yeah, it's not mandatory since it is just feather stalks, so to speak, or stems. I don't know what they're referred to as. You could just do a straight line if you chose to, but I chose not to. I really, if I'm being a little biased, I really think that this is going to turn out to be an awesome scroll saw pattern. If you're into detail, but I am. So I think it's going to look pretty neat. And I know I'm jumping around here. There's no rhyme or reason for that. I need to open Facebook in case at any point any of my panel members come along. Probably should have done that earlier. All right. Of course, most of my usual panel members are probably asleep right now. Because they're more normal than I am, but that's okay. Although one of them has a sporadic sleep schedule like I do. That would be Mr. Russ Meadows. If I had to pick one, he's probably one of the crowd favorites. But they all have their benefits. We don't get to see Jamie Page and Dale Kirkwood often enough. But, it is a different time zone, and they have lives of their own as well. No resentment there. Wesley Balco has a lot going on as well. Another great guy. Mark Lindsay has helped us out a few times. And when I say helped us out, when I'm doing cutting videos, live streams at the scroll saw, it's harder for me to keep up with the comments and questions in real time because of having to look at the saw. But here, while I'm drawing this, I can glance up at the screen and look. So it's mainly for activity, verbally, and corresponding with the chat and stuff like that. It's fun to have panel members. Sometimes it's kind of needed, sometimes it's not, but always appreciated. Sometimes I tend to minimize what I do because I'm not real good at complimenting myself. But it would be easy to say, well, dude, all you're doing is tracing, and that's not wrong. But knowing what to trace, how to trace it, what to take in mind when you're tracing, those are the learning areas. And I'm not touting my own horn on that. I'm saying, what am I saying? It's not as simple as just, pick up a pen, trace everything, because things still have to translate well. They still have to be stable-ish. I say ish because I'm making fun of my own detail. Yeah. It's kind of a catch-22 because the benefit is just tracing, and the disadvantage is that you're tracing, so it's kind of hard to translate in speech what I'm trying to say. And I'm being very random about where I'm tracing right now. You saw I started to go across and I jumped up, so I'm just going to jump around. There's really no reason behind it. But being that I take so many things for granted that I do naturally, that's why I encourage the questions and comments, because I may not think to bring up something that you would like to know about or anything like that. So that's why comments and questions are always welcomed. what it's worth, those other Native Americans I showed, I already have those printed out too. So those will be future. And if you don't like seeing Native American patterns being made, then you won't like my next few pattern related live streams. But that's one of my favorite things to do, that and animals. Right now, I'm just kind of thinking and decided where I want to go next, so that's why it's a little bit boring to watch right this second. Sorry, my computer was going ape crappy there. And ape crappy is a Charlie word. And me trying to stay family friendly. Bunch of little frilly feathers in here behind the bells, so that's why I'm not being real careful. I'm just suggesting with a bunch of little jagged lines. But dealing with detailed patterns like this, once you learn how to use the scroll saw, after that it's really just patience, in my opinion, and the desire to want to spend that long on one single project. Because even with my own patterns, I hate myself for having to cut all the little detail out. But in the end, I'm telling you, to me, it's worth it. With that sense of pride you get, wow, look at this masterpiece I just got done with, kind of thing. That's just being proud of your work. That's not being arrogant. So if you see me trace something or not trace something and you want to know why, ask me. Just say, hey, why did you not do that such and such? And I'll tell you. Sometimes it's just as simple as me thinking it wasn't important enough, or I didn't get there yet, or something like that. But you don't have to assume anything on here. I welcome any and all questions. Even if you're not watching live. But on certain designs, you're tracing shadows and dark colors, and that's a lot of what we're doing here. Because we know that these feathers are more detailed than they look, but we're just tracing what we can see, and a lot of what we're seeing is either the space between areas or just shadows, and that gives it texture and it makes it look more realistic. So that's what we're doing. And most scroll saw pattern, what I'm working on is shadows and dark colors. But every now and then, like on a black animal or anything shiny black, you're working on the light, that light shining off of stuff. And sometimes it's a combination of both. It depends on the picture. And I am really just jumping around here. When I'm turning it around, it's for visual comfort. Yeah, just working closer to me. Not being real careful. I'm wanting to stay true to the photograph, but it's okay to just jump around and add some little jagged lines just to suggest what we're working on. Some of it I'm tracing exact, some of it I'm making it up. But I can say that this pattern will be available on WoodandVisions.com as soon as I get it done and uploaded. At the time of this, I don't know what it'll be named. It'll probably just be, well, no, because he has a name, but not everybody will know to search by that name. What was his name? It was Chief Black Eagle. This is Chief Black Eagle. He is a crow. I don't know of any historic significance to him, but I'm sure there is some. It's just a photograph I found from a well-known Native American photographer. I say well-known. The only one I was familiar with prior to him was Edward Curtis. But then I stumbled upon this guy, and what is his name? I don't want to get it wrong. F.A. Reinhardt. I believe his first name is Frank. I'm surprised I hadn't found him sooner because he has very good Native American photography. And he also has a lot of cowboy type photography. I don't know the technical term. I think I'm going to invent more of a bridge that you can see here because it's pretty light in there, but I'm just going to kind of make it up. But it'll stabilize that area. Mr. Stanley Langford has joined us over on Facebook. Says, "Good morning, my friend. Glad to see you up and moving around." Yes, sir. I'm glad to be up and moving around. I know doing a live stream at 3 a.m. my time isn't going to be the most productive for anybody else, but I was wide awake and happy to be walking around pain-free and feeling fine. So here we are. Appreciate your support and stopping by, Mr. Langford. This is another example of areas where I'm going to be adding bridges that aren't there because, I could make that a bloater and glue it to the backer, but if I can, since it's not like his face where it has to look like a certain thing, I'm okay with inventing a little bit of detail in here. Now I know that odds are that this little ring of beads goes all the way around, but I'm going to stay true to the picture here. And because that lens, that some of that is going into shadow, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And here I'm about to, no, down here is probably where I'll add the bridges to keep that ring in place. Not real mandatory as to the shape of it, besides just the general ring. You don't have to trace every last bead. Just do a bunch of wavy lines and it'll kind of give you the same impression. And we have a big bridge going right here. I may add a little bit of detail in there just to break it up a little bit, which I'm going to do right now. But that holds that second ring to the first ring. And I think I got a little too close there. So during the computer part, I can break that up. This one right here has absolutely nothing attached to that middle. So I'll invent that too, just for the heck of it. And that might be less pretty. I'll just make one big old piece of bridge right there. And that one is done. And I I don't know if it's because I've looked at a lot of Native American photographs or if I just looked at this one up close, but I know that a lot of this stuff is beadwork. So I'm not tracing every last bead or shadow between them. I'm just suggesting detail in there. And some of these little bitty bridges, like you see this little bitty thin line, I may make it slightly wider, just more stability. As with any of my patterns, if you want to go to cut it and it looks too skinny, make it wider. Make it where you're comfortable dealing with it. I think what I'm going to do real quick is because my UK guys are hopefully waking up soon, I'm going to go ahead and send them the link just in case. No pressure for any of them to come in, but just in case. And let's get back over here. Okay, sorry about that. And one disadvantage to when I'm jumping around like this is sometimes I'll forget to trace an area. And it's the same thing when I'm drilling pilot holes and stuff like that. So when I have to stop to do something, sometimes I derail myself, which doesn't take much sometimes, but that's all right. There are areas I'm making thicker than they actually are, just for a little bit of stability there. Hello, hopefully I say this right, Alan Evans. And welcome back, Mr. Awesome Man Bill. Mr. Patrick's Workshop, a good friend of mine as well, is watching. Yes, late night in the shop because I'm finally awake and feeling all right. Look, squirrel. And I don't believe Steve Good's still here. He may be, but Bill is saying hi to him. Yeah, that was a treat for him to stop by. Now, besides I know we all like to joke about how much I babble, but you'll see we're already hour and 18 minutes into here, and we're not even done with the upper half. But part of that was me verbally teaching. Wasn't my usual babbling. But yeah, these things don't always go quickly, but to me, it's worth it in the end. Patrick, are you implying I get distracted easy? Just kidding. Bossy Man says it's 8:05 p.m. Tuesday night there. It's 3:03 a.m. here. That's just weird. Of course, I'm a Central Time Zone, by the way. I believe Patrick is. I don't know what time zone Patrick is in. He's in California. Patrick's Workshop says those Kobe patterns came out great. Thank you, sir. There are 3 Kobe Bryant patterns on woodenvisions.com. If anybody's interested, they are, if you just do the search term Kobe, K-O-B-E, you will find them. Yeah, it's the same day so far, Bill. It's Not very often. This is maybe the third time I've done a live stream at an odd hour like this for me, but usually it's during daylight hours, my time. But I slept all day because of making up for lost time, and here we are, live stream number 60. A little bit of light chaos going in here, so I'm going to kind of make it up as I go. I can't really see much of it, so I'm just going to kind of make it up based on what's on the next tab I'm trying to attach to it. Can't really see much of anything, but I'm going with what I can. That's funny too, because I talk about as much as I jump around, sometimes I forget to trace something, and when I go to scan it in, the person's missing an ear because I was jumping around so much I didn't notice the ear hadn't been traced. The stuff like that, I usually have to line the paper back up and do it, but something like a feather, I could throw in a little odd detail there. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, if there's an ear in the source photograph, you probably want to add the ear in the pattern, because most people have ears. Some people act like they don't. Hello, Rumi Elhay. He is Egyptian. Hello, Rumi. I love all the different time zones and geographical people we got going on. Today it's Trace on Scroller Man. Hopefully I said your name right, Rumi Elhay. Rumi. I don't know. I guess he'll let me know. I appreciate you watching, sir. Or ma'am. I don't know. Wait, based on the name. Forgive me. Adding a little bit of detail that's not even there on this. Just to suggest texture. But it looks kind of cottony, so that's kind of what I'm going off of. That's another thing I love about these live streams and YouTube and the computer in general, is getting to talk to people in Egypt, India, UK. I mean, that's just pretty awesome. And Australia. California. Steve Goods over in Kentucky. We've got a lot of people getting to get together, and I'm just sitting here in lonely old Gatesville, Texas. And Romy, also man, is asking what time it is there in Egypt. The reason why I'm saying it, even though you can read it, is you may not be able to read English, but can say it. I don't know. I'm just trying to help. I hope my arm wasn't in the way of some of that. Romy, I hope that that's what this live stream is doing. Hopefully it will help teach you. I don't know how good of a teacher I am, but I'm trying. Mainly just sharing. See, I'm trying to stay out of my own way on the camera. Okay, I don't even know where I left off because I'm multitasking here. But it's all got to be done, so let's do it. And just so y'all know, if you are watching overseas or wherever you are, not everybody talks like I do. I'm just a unique individual. Now, again, you might be thinking, man, he's tracing feathers. No, I'm actually tracing the texture and shadows. So I'm not actually trying to draw the feather. I'm drawing the shadows and dark colors. Most of these are shadows. Stuff like this is dark colors, but these are shadows. So it is a combination of both. And I'm jumping around here. We're almost done with the upper half. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything in the areas I've already dealt with. And it doesn't look like we have. If y'all seeing it, y'all aren't pointing it out to me. But I do see some little wrinkles I'd like to add a little more to give it a little more texture. Not much. And there's a little bit coming off of the bottom here I forgot to add. Okay, I'm going to come back over the feathers and we'll be done with this half. Anything that goes off the edge of the pattern is meant to be attached to some kind of border or however you want to attach it. I assume that's a given to most people that buy patterns, but I don't want to speak for them, but that's what I intend when I go off the edge of a picture for a pattern. And it's okay if we go off a line a little bit, tracing the detail on these, or the shadows on these feathers, because, it is just feathers. There's no identifying features to them. Some people do exactly what I'm doing, but they do it with a digital pen, but I can't control a digital pen. Sometimes I can't control this pen, just saying. I don't have special pens that I use, just any pen that has ink in it is what I use. Romy says, I want designs for Valentine's Day. I'm terrible at doing holiday themed designs. I'm not terrible at the designs themselves. I'm terrible at coming up with them. I usually just, my designs are so random. And we're going to take another drink of my favorite beverage. All right. Where are we at? There we go. Romy, try scrollsawartist.com. She has a lot of Valentine's themed patterns. I want to say scrollsawartist.com. Let me type it in the chat just in case. That's it. Thank you, Romy. I appreciate it. Let me type in that web address. And let me give you more specific link. I'm sorry for interrupting the feed for this, but Valentine. Okay, I'm about to put it in the chat here, Romy. I I typed in Valentine's. That hopefully that will show up. But there's a lot of good Valentine's patterns there. I'm not a good source for Valentine's pictures. That is a designer named Sue May out of South Africa. Very, very, very wide selection of patterns through her, as well as Sheila Landry and Keith Benton at I believe it's SheilaLandry.com or SheilaLandryDesigns.com. Forgive me, Sheila. I don't remember. A lot of good pattern designers out there. I probably shouldn't have started lifting them off because I will forget some. There's Charles Hand, Alex Fox, Botas Helder, Mike Williams. I shouldn't have started naming people because I'm going to forget. And it's not for lack of importance, it's because I'm multitasking and my brain isn't working. Leslie Boko has designed some. Steve Good, of course, girlsawworkshop.blogspot.com. Some of this detail I'm breaking up just a little bit to add more bridges than there are. I don't know if that link came through on the YouTube chat or not. Hopefully it did. But if anybody watching is interested in my designs, woodenvisions.com. I also have ebooks, instructional videos like this one, caps and t-shirts that say scroll on, or I survived a Charles during live stream. Sounds like a joke, but that's real. There's, what else? Neighborhood is between 17 and 1800 scroll saw patterns. I also do custom patterns. I start at $50 per photo to pattern. It can be higher. I'm loosely tracing the detail of the shadows on these feathers, but not to the mark. In other words, I'm adding some lines and leaving others out because, we just want to suggest that they're feathers. Stan Langford says, well, I got to go support my hobby. See y'all guys later. Have a great stream and day. Thank you, Stanley. Appreciate you being here, buddy. You too. And Aussie Man says, where's your I Am a Scroll Man hat? You have to talk to Steve Nealon about that, or I do, but I can't afford anything right now. But yeah, that's another good idea. I'm a scroll man, golly. Now, see, I'll probably forget that. So email me, Aussie Man, remind me to get with Steve Nealon, my website guy, Hardnail Media, to do that. But then if we do that, I'll be offended if you don't go buy one. It's pretty funny. I mean, I may have these things on my site, but I got to pay for them too, except for the patterns. Everything else I got to pay for. So, y'all aren't alone in having to pay for things. I think I'm also wanting to think of a graphic to go with that. Now, because when people think I'm a soul man, they think of those guys in sunglasses from Blues Brothers. And I just recently did that design with me pointing that had me wearing sunglasses, so that might be the graphic that goes with it. Although me pointing doesn't really tie in with the term, except for the fact that it's me that says that. But yeah, But although Steve Nealon keeps weird hours, he's probably normal and asleep right now. But he keeps weird hours too, but not quite as weird as me sometimes. And it sounds like it's starting to rain outside, and I love rain. No, I don't. I hate rain. I'm so sick of rain. As you can see, some of these shadows are very faint, so I'm just kind of making it up. I thought we were done with rain here in Texas, but I guess not. It's not coming down hard, but it's there, and I'm not a fan of rain because it limits what I can get done outside. But here we are. It's dark anyway. It's coming down harder. Okay, I believe we're done with the upper half. Let me verify. And we'll do the lower half, and then you'll get to see the computer part 2. Again, for clarification, my downloadable videos from woodenvisuals.com, as well as these live streams having to do with making patterns. The teaching portion is only the drawing part. The computer part is just so you can see part of the process, but it's not me trying to teach it. The computer part anyway. I am trying to teach the pattern part. I'll answer any questions I can regarding the computer part, but that's not what I'm trying to teach because I'm not, well, that's great. Let's just tear off part of the pattern here. Oh, well, it wasn't important. And we're not done yet, so don't run off unless you want to. That was just the upper half. And I'd save pieces of tape off to the side to reuse because painter's tape is not as cheap as it should be. And Aussie Man, if you're still listening, I haven't given up or stopped doing custom scroll saw patterns. I just took a break for that couple of days because I wasn't real thrilled with how I had been doing them. But it all really does depend on the photograph, as you well know. But don't give up on me. And what's neat is I'll be able to hold up the printed out picture up against what we've just traced, and you'll be able to see how cool it looks together. And that's not it. We still got the carbon paper. Don't you worry. It's always kind of neat to see this part too. I'm going to tease you for now. Okay, now you're going to get to see the drawn and the print next to each other. If I have it right side up. And that is that. So you're getting an idea. When I get done tracing both halves, I scan them both in, and then we attach them together. So now we're going to put that drawn one off to the side, and we're going to tape down for this one. After I cut off the white portion here to add up next to it, just like we did with the other one. After I throw my straight edge on the floor. Excuse me. Where are we at over here? Somebody stole all my paper. Where'd it go? And we'll get a brand new sheet of paper here, or carbon paper. And the wind is blowing because I have a window unit on because it's a little muggy over here in Texas. And we get right back into the lower half here. It may be obvious to some, but if you weren't here in the beginning, I tape these down so nothing moves while I'm tracing it. Okay. And we're going to put the lower half here first. And then we'll tape the other one right next to it. Lining up two edges so that I know it's straight. Because you don't want to have one drawn straight and one drawn crooked. And it moved. One of y'all moved it when I wasn't looking. And I'm pressing down to make sure there's no more ripples in the paper than there needs to be. Cut off some of this excess. Okay, now we're going to take this in place so that we know what we're working off of. And put a little bit of a gap there because I want the line to be drawn all the way. Because if you butt it up right up against it, it could cause a little skip in the line. Though it may happen anyway, but it gives me something to work off of here. And then I'll cut off this excess so it's not in my way from the area we've already cut off. So I'll be cutting this off with a razor blade right there. So if I forgot to trace anything, I just screwed myself by throwing that away, but okay. Now, there's the second half. So that's how we got to that point. Y'all bear with me. I got to multitask. Computer things happen. And by the way, folks, not to minimize what happened to Kobe Bryant, but please realize that there were 7 other people on that helicopter that died as well. People are mourning their loss. You don't want to minimize them. I know I'm being random, but there's that. But I do have 3 Kobe Bryant, so far, 3 Kobe Bryant patterns on woodenvisions.com. Just search Kobe, K-O-B-E, and you should be able to find them. I'm trying to determine if I want to add that line or not, but it is there. I'm trying to determine what if that's something in the background behind them, or if that's part of a feather or what. Thomas H. says, I'm excited about your work. Greetings from Germany, Bavaria. Ah, good to see you, Thomas. I was in Berlin once, or Berlin, or Frankfurt and Landstuhl. I appreciate you being here. Aussie Man says, all loss of life is sad. Amen. Yeah, I just felt like, there's nothing wrong with mourning Kobe Bryant and his daughter, but, people, other people died there too, and I just felt like they should have been, I don't know how I want to finish that sentence. Right here, I'm trying to determine where I want to start, where I want to go with this design and how I want to proceed. And I'm excited to be doing this work, Thomas H. So I appreciate that you're excited. That's part of why I do what I do. If I can excite at least one person, I'll be happy. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I actually feel bad for anybody that didn't get here in the beginning to see the whole picture together, but I guess I could screen share real quick. And this is also show you some future designs in no particular order or timeline, because this is what we're working on right now. I cropped it down from this. And these two are some to be done in the future. And they were cropped down from this and that. So this is what we're working on. But yeah, this is obviously not a Native American, but I thought that would look kind of cool. It has its place for somebody. I love old rustic cowboy, Western, Native American, all kinds of stuff. By golly. Thomas says his English is very bad. I translated everything with Google. That's fine. If I could, yeah. And Aussie Man says condolences to those Marines in the other helicopter crash too. Exactly. Sadly, the real quote unquote heroes are the ones that die every day, and nobody knows their names, and that's sad. But yeah, Thomas, if I could multitask quicker, I would translate comments back to you to put in the chat. But it's enough that I can do this. And we lost a bunch of military folks in Afghanistan yesterday, I believe. Very sad. Okay, I'm going to try to. And Thomas H., I speak very little German. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Actually, I just asked him if he spoke German. I know he does. I don't. I don't know how to say I don't speak German well. Okay. Now here's an example of a line I should have drawn in the upper half. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest it on the area that I can control. All right. Thank you, Bill. I'm going to break up this line. Well, no, I don't really need to break up this line, do I? I don't need to. It's okay to have one long line on here. By golly. See, some of this is a shadow or a gap between the ribbons, and some of it's shadow. So that's why I broke that up a little bit, because it may not translate well, but it's there. I hope y'all know what I mean when I say it doesn't translate well or does translate well, because I don't know how else to word it. Words are not always my friend. Now, this isn't related to Kobe Bryant. It's apples and oranges. It's not the same subject matter, but I also don't like it when somebody goes on a murder spree and that murderer's name is spread all over instead of the victim's names. But yeah, that's how society is working these days. I know that's not the same as somebody dying in a helicopter crash or in the military, this and that. But yeah, you know me, I'm pretty random. I think I'm going to stop there as far as detail on these ribbons, because there's not a whole lot to begin with. And I didn't trace that exactly as it was shaped. I just want to suggest it. Yeah, I can't make conversation in German, Thomas. I can say, like, where's the bathroom? Well, is the toilet? Lived in Berlin, Germany for 3 years, from 1980 to 1982. Anyways, let's get back on here. I get the weirdest song stuck in my head. Now, this hair can be chaotic too, so I'm adding some detail in there to hold it hold together somewhat. Some of it shows up, some of it does not. Some of it comes out from behind that ribbon. At least I think it's hair, so we're going to make it hair. Thomas H. says, here in Germany, I don't know anyone who works like you. Well, I'm sorry for that, but it betters my odds of selling some patterns. Woodenvisions.com. But I appreciate that compliment. I'm not going to lie, it is flattering to know that my name is known. See, I sound arrogant when I start to talk like that, but knowing my name is known all over the world is flattering. It doesn't make you rich, and it doesn't have to, but it's something I never dreamed that everybody would know my name, or a lot. Not everybody likes my name, but that's all right too. Some of this hair detail I'm doing is somewhat generic. And Aussie Man Romy is answering you. Is 11:36 a.m. And I did that also for the sake of people listening elsewhere. You asked what time it was earlier. So that gives you an idea of the time zone changes. A whole bunch of time zones going on tonight. We've had people from India, Germany, Egypt. I've had Brazilian people in the live stream chats before. It's just neat how the internet works that way. Brings people together. Or tears them apart, depending on who they are, but that's what we call snowflakes. I'm being very generic on this hair, but at some point I will start. No, I don't really even have to worry about it, because it is just hair. It doesn't identify the guy. But I'll be a little more careful the closer I get to the face. Anytime you have two hairs intersecting each other, that's kind of an X, and you can have a floater doing it that way. So I'm having to remember that. So I'm going to stop this hair just short of the other one, and then we'll just draw it in. And that way there's a bridge holding on here. and there'll be a bridge right here because I'm not going to make those hairs intersect. I probably could have because of the connection up here, but it just make it a little more stable. You don't have to do things the way I do it, whatever makes you comfortable or however you want it to look. Austin Man says old Charles doesn't have to stop pattern making when the power goes off. Doing them this way, I like that. Yeah, I can use a candle if I need to. I haven't done that yet. But if I want to do a live stream, I need power. Thomas H says, you are very well known here in Germany among scroll saws. Wow, that's flattering. I love hearing stuff like that, man. Right as I start to not like myself, somebody says something makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Thank you, Thomas, or Dunka. And for anybody that cares, Dunka, D-A-N-K-E, is German for thank you. But I've also heard Dunka Shane. I don't know what Dunka Shane means. I know what Dunka means. Sergern, I don't know what that means. I'm going to do a question mark so he knows what the heck so I can tell him I don't know what he's saying. I do not know Sergern. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Some hair showing back behind here, a little bit crossed over, so I'm just going to be generic with it. That's not necessarily hair, it's stripes in his shirt, but if it works, it works. With pleasure is what Sergern means. Okay. Famous scroller man. So Sergern is with pleasure. Okay. I learned a bit of German today, and so did y'all, even if you didn't want to. I don't know what Romy Alhay is saying, because I can't read Arabic. Over here, we drink Dr. Pepper's brother, Dr. Salt. Just kidding. That's funny right there. Now, one thing that's may look weird as a pattern, he has little pinstripes on his shirt here, and that could interfere with the hair, but it's okay. I'm glad you and I got to connect, Mr. Bill, along with everybody I connect with, but it's always neat to make new friends. God. Romy Elhay said, why don't you use the computer? He replied his book. Okay, translation didn't go real well. I don't use computer because I'm not good at using computers. I use a computer to clean up and color in to show to the public, but I don't know how to make patterns on a computer from scratch. And I'm pretty sure from scratch does not translate well, but I don't know how else to answer that. Yeah, I don't know if I like these pinstripes being in here, but they're in the photograph, so let's stay true to it. I could always edit those out if I don't like them. But if y'all have the patience, or at least fast forward the video, at the end of this video, you'll see this, unless I have a technical issue, you'll see this colored in and on the computer. I don't know what you mean by he replied his book, but I thought, and I know you understand that. I just don't understand it. Old school scroller man, by golly. Now this is a loop. There's no way to do that loop without that being a floater, so I'm just going to break up the loop. Actually, there doesn't even, we're not even going to put a loop in there. That loop doesn't have to be there. It's not important to the picture, so I think we're good. And we know that this is feathers, so I'm just making jagged lines. Or I assume it's feathers. I don't know what it is. So if we know the texture, or we think we know the texture of what we're working with, we can work off of that rather than flat out detail. I don't know how else to word that either. This lower half's going to go a lot quicker than the upper half went because I've done a lot of the explaining in the upper half, but also it's just random detail that's not real important to the quality of the pattern, so I'm just tracing it pretty quickly. I'm being very vague on how I trace. Awesome Man says, I personally really like your pattern making method. It truly is handmade. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thomas H says, unfortunately, I have to switch off. I still have appointments. Everyone had a nice day or night. Auf Wiedersehen. That means goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen, Thomas. Goodbye. Appreciate you being here. And thank you for coming by. I love the reach of the internet. I know I keep saying that, but I do. Just awesome, because how often can you talk to people in other countries this freely? I don't know why I'm adding these pinstripe lines. Well, I know why I'm adding them in is because they're in the photograph, but I don't know if I'm going to like how they look in a pattern. Auf Wiedersehen means goodbye. Okay. I was only 10, 11, and 12 years old in Germany, so I didn't get to appreciate it as I would as an adult. So as a kid, I didn't care as much about learning German to make conversation. I believe Germany in German is Deutschland. You didn't know you were going to get to learn some little useless German here, did you? I can teach you redneck too if you want to learn. As y'all can see, I'm adding a lot of useless detail in here. I say useless. In other words, I'm not being real careful to stay right on the line because it's just little detail that's not pertinent to having to look a certain way. So I'm just roughly tracing it. And I'm making changes for stability and stuff like that. Now, not every live stream I do is going to be a pattern. Not every live stream I do is going to be a cutting. I try to bounce back and forth between them. But what my next pattern live stream is depends on if I get a custom order that the person doesn't mind me doing on a live stream for a pattern. Sometimes people want those private, and that's okay. So if I don't get a custom pattern order for a live stream, I will do another Native American. Unless I find another picture, I may do that. The guy sitting there with the fiddle that I showed you earlier. If you didn't see that, it's elsewhere in this live stream when I screen shared. That one may be a battle though, because there's some weird lights and darks in it. But for a while there, I was only doing live streams that were cuttings, and sometimes people are more interested in my patterns than my cuttings. We try to please everybody, so we'll try to do a little bit of everything. As you can see, this half is going much quicker. And usually I start with the face, but I haven't gone there yet, but we'll get there. And I'll say, man, Bill, you're not allowed to leave till I'm done with this pattern. So I want you to see how it turns out. Although I can tell that's something that has some kind of mass to it, I'm just going to ignore it because it's dark. Very quickly, roughly doing the feather detail now. It's more about suggesting the swoop of the feather. I don't know what that part of the feather is called. I'm just doing the suggestion of the shape and the direction that the frilly parts are going, more so than actually tracing them. All right, Bill says he's going nowhere. Leonard Davis says, good to see you up and back at it. And hello, Leonard. By God, it's good to be up and back at it, even though it's a weird hour, almost 4 a.m. here, by golly. But when have I ever done anything in the norm? By God. I kind of say that a lot, don't I? I do think I do. And Herb Hooper came out of the shadows, says, hello, Leonard. Well, we're definitely jumping right through this one. Let me make sure I haven't forgotten anything important. I mean, there's a couple little feather lines there we could add. Wasn't really mandatory. And all we have left is this right here, and by golly, we'll be doing the computer portion. I need to make sure that this is not being held for review yet. Yeah, because that does happen here. We're going to take a swig of my favorite refreshment. Almost done. This actually has gone quicker than some of my other pattern live streams have gone. I'm actually a little surprised. Sorry about the reflection of that glare there. I'm going to go ahead and get the less important parts done, and then we'll jump back into the important features, which is the face. It's going to be somewhat rough here, too. Not really trying to keep any particular shape. And the rain's coming down harder outside. Hopefully the power will hold out. If it doesn't, I'll be a little miffed. If for some reason the power does go out, if it comes back on, I will start the live stream again. Sometimes when I lose power, I get frustrated and leave, but we're already too close to the end to not finish this. So just know that as soon as the power comes on, but StreamYard, which is a platform I use to do live streams from, it requires you to schedule it at least 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time. But if you have your notifications on, then you won't miss anything. I won't do a single pen stroke without it being on the live stream. I'm really rethinking whether or not I should have added the pinstripes on there. I may edit those out because it looks chaotic. I mean, people that are watching that saw the photograph I started with will understand why I put them in there. But yeah, I don't like those. It looks kind of weird and out of place. That's a perfect example of when I'm saying some things translate well and some things don't. Now, if people know the photograph I'm working from, they understand it. But as a Native American portrait, those lines look kind of chaotic and almost look like he's wearing a baseball jersey. And to my knowledge, they weren't into baseball back then. There's some kind of curl right there. I'm going to leave that out because that wouldn't translate well either. It looks kind of funny, actually. I think this can be a beautiful pattern when we're done. I'm more excited than y'all are to see what it's going to look like. I don't know why that song is stuck in my head. Our house. A lot of chaos in here because I can't really tell what's what, so I'm just being generic. I know that there's detail in there, but I can't tell what it is, so we're just making it up. I'm actually very surprised how quickly the second half is going, which is awesome. I think what I'm going to do, I told you how part of it was going to be in with background and part of it wasn't. At least right now, I'm going to continue this little squiggly line, and we're just going to make this whole lower half be cut out. So we're going to have no background behind here, and I may end up making the whole thing without a background since only part of the headdress is the only thing that was left with detail. So I'm going to ignore this line somewhat. No, maybe I should add it. That way it helps the detail in here. So see, that's me change my mind. But I'm not going to make it a dimension. I'm just going to make it a straight line. We'll just say it's a feather in the background. It doesn't have to be lined up. But because we have shadow so close to the edge here, I've left a little space for a border. No, you know what? I could just draw it up to there and make the shadow a little less. I'll just pull that shadow back a little bit from where it actually is. So you can see me going a little wider than some of those lines just to give it more stability. I hope that was on screen. I haven't been paying attention to that aspect. I'm going to finish that piece of detail and we'll just go ahead and add some thickness to the side of it. We are so close to done, it hurts, man. But I can tell you, unless y'all want me to finish that Steve Good welcome sign, the next live stream cutting potentially be Rooster Cogburn on the horse, but I might as well finish that Steve Good sign. But somebody might have wanted to see that because not everybody wants to see me work on a big old detailed piece. And it shouldn't take too long to finish that. So my next cutting live stream will probably be me finishing the Steve Good welcome sign. Okay. So close to done. We're done with the drawing portion anyway. Let's see, this is another one of those battles. I can see his nostril in there amongst the shadows, but we also have that bulky shadow there. So I may just go with the nostril and this little cleft. I think that's what it's called, the cleft in the lip. I have cleft lip, so it's a little confusing for me. I'm minimizing the shadows there. It's definitely coming down hard outside now. Okay, gotta jump around a little bit. But we are wanting to capture how textured his skin is. You know, I guess you can call it leathery. You don't have to do every last bit of detail in there, but it doesn't hurt to add some of it. Like the occasional little divot in his skin texture. Herb Hooper and over in Lake Worth, Texas, says it's starting to rain here also. I've had my fill of rain. I mean, unless I'm growing crops, I don't want rain. I hate rain. But if it's gonna rain, I don't want everybody to get hurt. But if it's gonna rain, I prefer, you know, thunder and lightning and blah blah blah. Make it exciting if it's gonna ruin my day. There's no specific shape to what I just did there. I'm just trying to make it look rugged. And this looks to be some kind of a scar on his chin, but it's there, so I'm going to add it. May not translate well, but it might, by God. We are so close to being done with the drawing part. This is going to be a pretty one. I really do think this is going to be a beautiful pattern. So I get just as excited as other people do. Now, being mindful of where I left off on the upper half, that's why you see me trying to attach it in some ways. And Herb, if you don't mind, can you make the rain here stop and just go all up to you? You know, because I don't really want it. There's a little bit of texture on his nose here, but I'm not real worried about that. I'm just going to kind of suggest the shadow and the shape of the nostril coming up there. Yeah. Is anybody excited as I am at how close to being done we are? Not because of the live stream, but seeing what it's going to look like. I'm excited about that part. I'm actually laughing because I've done what I call simpler designs that took longer than this, but some things roll together and some things don't. But I'm pretty confident I'm going to edit out these pinstripe lines. But I think we're done, but I'm going to add a little bit more. Just a space filler. Do a real quick check, make sure I missed anything. I'm not worried about that little spot right there. All right, I think we're done, by golly. We're going to scan them in and you'll get to see the computer part. Again, I'm not teaching the computer part, I'm just showing it. And if I forgot to trace anything, we're all going to find out together. Y'all probably screaming saying, you forgot to trace that. But my God, we're going to get there. After I... Where are we at here? Okay. Howard Pepper doesn't want the rain either. Austin Man says he's jumping in the seat. That means he's just so darn excited as well. I'm not jumping in my seat. I'm kidding. I know you're not actually jumping in your seat unless this excites you that much. I'm flattered. Howard Pepper said, I wish I could, Bill, because I know you need it more than we do. How are the fires doing there in Australia, Bill? Now, I've actually researched, or not researched, I just came across an article. This is actually not the worst acreage loss fire that Australia has had. It's actually relatively low on acreage. What makes this fire so prominent is the lives lost. That is if I comprehended the article. It's from what I've read, it's the more devastating in the lives lost sense than it has been for the actual history of fires in Australia. Well, I'm not opposed to it, Herb. I just may have to start a new live stream to do it because that way titling and everything is lined up. So we have both halves, and we are going to scan them both in. But yeah, I'm wide awake enough. We could probably do another Native American. But okay, there's both halves. We're going to scan them in, and I'm going to screen share now. This is where it sucks not having somebody on the panel to read comments and questions, because when I'm doing this part, I can't see the comments and questions, so I'll have to jump back and forth. What am I doing here? I'm gonna get the scanner. Yeah, this is where it's ideal to have a panel member to read comments and questions, because I don't like to ignore anybody, although I know y'all know that. I'm scanning the upper half, and then we're going to scan the lower half, and then we'll put them together. And as you can tell, it's 300 DPI. I do it in grayscale. And then we pull the picture in there and scan the other half. All right. Got my window unit going, and it's still a little cool or warm in here. Okay, scan. Again, this is not to teach this portion, but for the sake of explaining what I'm doing, this is Paint Shop Pro 4. They don't even make it anymore. I just dragged it from computer to computer. And right now I'm just turning them to the right so they're both right side up. And I'm going to glance to make sure I'm not missing any comments. Roller Man's Moto is defiantly in high gear. Well done. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I do feel very highly energized. Okay, now again, I'll explain what I'm doing, but I'm not trying to teach the computer portion. I really have to make that clear because somebody they were upset that they ordered a instructional DVD and didn't teach the computer part, or at least not thoroughly, because it wasn't about that. What I'm doing right now is I'm changing the color from one shade to all the same color gray, and so this is unimportant. I'm just explaining what I'm doing, and then I'll put both halves together after I do that, and then we'll color it all in, by golly, and that's when it really starts to pop. But yeah, I am wide awake enough to do another Native American live stream, so we probably do that. But what I will do is end this one and title another one to start up again, by golly. And I'll let y'all decide which one that is after I move these off to the side. Will it be this one or this one? Let me know, left or right, left or right. That's which one we'll do next. Okay? Okay. And I'm not trying to be funny. I will do one of those. Y'all just got me. Let me know which one you want to see done next. Out of the two, the one I think will translate the best. Now let me show you. I think this one will translate the best because there's more distinct lights and darks on this one here. Because this one, has a lot of darkness, but there's also a lot of the face showing, so that would be a little more difficult and a lot more detail in the hair. But it also seems to have more emotion to it. I don't know. I'll let y'all decide. Don't leave it up to me because I'm not a good decider. Y'all just let me know the left one or the right one that you want on the next live stream. Let me make sure I've gotten all the color changing done here. And we're gonna go over to white. Get rid of these little smudges that we don't need. And then we'll combine the two halves and we'll be rolling, baby. All right. And we're going to make it 3300 by 5100. Wait, I don't know if I got all the smudges off of that one. Let me check right quick. Oh, it's just a smudge on my computer. No, there is a little bit of a smudge there. Okay. Let's see if there's a vote yet on the next one, and I'll get back to it. Left one. Okay. So y'all want the left one. Okay, it's going to take longer. Just saying. But that's all right. I got nowhere to be. Okay, edit, copy. And no, it's not going to be this tall. I just do the combination of the two sizes, and then we'll splice it together and crop it. And dang it, I gotta move this thing off to the side because it's in my way. We want it to go off the edges. That'll work. Edit copy. Let me get some of that. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to color it in white so that it got rid of that off-white. So we're going to do that. You'll see it cleaned it up a little bit. And we'll do that to this one. Now, when we overlap them, there won't be any weird color stuff going on, but the off-white is important, and I'll explain that for those that have not seen it. Edit, copy. It's just going to come together, baby. I'm telling you, it's going to be pretty. You'll zoom in to make sure that everything's lined up, at least for the most part. It looks like we almost got it. I'm just going to check. Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff I have to clean up, but that's all right. Look there, it's going to be so pretty. Now I'm going to crop it and start it out. We don't need to keep all that now. But we are going to go ahead and title it and then clean it up. Don't worry. What was his name again? Wait, I want to get the name right. It was Chief Black Eagle. Chief Black Eagle. Boom. All right, here's where it's going to get pretty. Well, let's go ahead and go where we combine the two halves and make sure we have. Now, let me zoom in right quick. Well, after I zoom in, I will check for comments and questions. Seeing that there's a bridge, I got to fix that. Let me get over here, check the comments and questions. Okay, so no comments and questions have been added. Yeah, this is an example of me cleaning it up and coloring it in. You see that off-white color is very important for any of you that have not seen a past live stream or one of my instructional videos. We want that off-white color because it tells us that that area does not have any breaks in the line. If it's white, it's either a broken line or where I combine the two halves. But I'm also a stickler for specks. So I'm going to get rid of these specks. Right around in here is where we combine the two halves. So that's why I zoomed in, is so I could clean those up. And it's supposed to be white, so we want to thicken that up a little bit. I'm going to thicken that up a little bit. And maybe a little wider here, but it's all right. This is where it overlapped, so it's going to be a little sloppy. We'll just line it up a little more. Sometimes I'm pickier than I need to be on some of this, but worse problems to have. So you can see there is a break in the line on some of these. And what was I doing here? Some of it lines up and some of it doesn't. So let me get the ones that I can see the break. Some of them line up and some of them don't. And I don't know why, because they're scanned into the same resolution. Anyway. And we're going to go across here. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why that didn't line up, but oh well. We could fix it. Because this is just feathery crap, so it doesn't have to be. That's a little narrow. And you might find other spots that are too narrow, but I can't see everything at once. Let's see one right here. And after we do that, we want to color it in so that we don't think that it's a break in the line. And that's a bigger area that I can't see the whole thing on, so I'm going to come back to that. There wasn't really much else, was there? There's a little line sitting there. I don't have a little hair on his nose. I wanted to widen that a little bit. Here's for stability. That might be okay. Let's widen that just a tad, but not too much. We don't want to alter the shape of anything. We'll do a real quick scan for other broken areas that are white that shouldn't be, unless it's just coming off the edge. That's where something didn't. Never mind. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get rid of those stupid pinstripes. Yeah, a lot of these are pinstripes. I'm just going to get rid of them completely, but I'm breaking the line for them now. Doing a quick scan because we don't want to crowd things either or make them too narrow, which I am guilty of doing at times. Sometimes I miss, especially when I'm doing a lot of hair. Sometimes I miss areas where I could make it wider, like right here. I could probably get rid of a lot of that altogether. Anyway, although some of this is supposed to be cut out and it's white, it's because of where we put the two halves together, so I'm not worried about that right now as far as cleaning it up, but we can color it in. Want to check for all that stuff, for crowding and for breaks in the line. It's a little crowded right here. And we'll scoot right on over. Well, that's just where it went off the edge, and I remember that, so I'm going to color that in, color that in. If at any point I go to color something in and it makes the whole screen go gray, that means I missed a break in the line. And we want that white, we want that cut out. Whoops, that one was not supposed to be shadow, this was. I remember that from when I was drawing on it. And don't worry, we're getting there. That one. Okay. Trying to scan as quickly as possible so you don't get too bored, but I know most of y'all will understand the process I'm going through here, and I will check the comments and questions here just a second. Okay, there's a bunch of those stupid pinstripe lines. I did a line through there so that there's a break in the line. Okay, being mindful of what's what. I do not want these stupid pinstripes. I don't know who the idea was to put those in there. It may make it a little plain down there, but at least it won't look weird. I mean, I've never seen a Native American wearing pinstripes, so it is a little weird. Okay, that's white too. That's colored in. And I will do a lot of this with the picture pulled back, so don't worry. I'm just doing this up close crap, getting rid of those lovely pinstripes. Some of them I may leave in there just for a little detail, but yeah, this one I'm getting rid of. pull back here, and a lot of it's going to be coloring in now. Once I start coloring in, it's going to pop, baby. Let me check comments and questions. Yep, nobody's talking. Okay. Now, once we start doing this, it's going to pop, I'm telling you. This will tell us if we're breaking that line. Boom, there's that detail we wanted. Boom. 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 Oops. Now, see, that's a perfect example of what's not supposed to happen. So now that I've done that, I'm going to hit save to make sure that doesn't go to crap, and we can tell this is supposed to be white. But that means there's a break somewhere in that line, or some of y'all may have even seen and just didn't tell me. Because y'all are like that. There's a break in the line. Let's hope that's the only one, but just in case, we're going to scan quickly through that area. Give everything that's supposed to be white. Wait. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, that should fill in now. Yep. And that one. Okay, folks, it's starting to pop. I may make that eye look a little more human. That line is going too straight up and down. Let me go and fix that now while it's annoying me. That was just a little too straight up and down to be the edge of the iris and the whites of the eyes. So I'm going to angle it some, or let's try this first. Something doesn't look right there. Oops, wrong color. With the front and back of there to be lined up. This might be the best we can do on that one. Now we could get away with leaving out that white of the eye, but that would mean this thing is only holding on by that one strand. But I guess we could pull that one across. Y'all let me know which one you think would look better. I know you're saying it's up to me, blah, blah, blah. But if we got rid of this area right in here, it may look more realistic. And we could just make that a real brittle area right there, which is okay. I think I may end up going that route, but we'll do two different versions. I'm telling you, the coloring in part is what makes this so exciting, but I almost wonder if we want to, I don't know if I'm happy with how that's sporadic right there. Oh well. It's like it wants to have no background at all back here. It just looks a little funny in there, but I knew what I was trying to do, and I don't regret it. I just wondered how I want it to look. Start. We're gonna do the color change thing. Let's make this go a little quicker. Something about that background, believe it or not, out of the whole thing so far, the background is what I'm struggling with. Whoops, I feel like I may have missed something over there. Nope, maybe I did not. I didn't give myself enough credit here. Yeah, something is missing with that background. I don't know what it is. Metal check for questions and comments. Oh, nobody's commenting. And now after each step, I'm going to save in case I do something wrong. tolerance. This might be too high of a tolerance and turn it dark gray. Nope, it's not. We may not have to mess with that eye. It may be okay. That's why I was checking for comments, hoping y'all would have some feedback on the eye there. But yeah, I know a lot of y'all will say, "Well, it's your pattern." Well, dang it, I like feedback too. Checking for comments. All right, so one of y'all needs to speak up. I need. Okay. Believe it or not, that background is about the only thing I'm struggling with. As a matter of fact, it is the only thing I'm struggling with. I liked the idea at the time when I was kind of making it half wooden, half not. But I almost think it'll look better without a background at all. And the only thing I would have to alter is, just tracing a border around things up here. Or vice versa and taking out the darkness over here. But that would probably take a little more time than y'all would want to do. Let me do that, and this is how I'll get rid of those white specks. Don't freak out, it's about to turn black, but don't take it wrong. We're going to turn those white specks into gray so that it's not so speckly, except for the ones that I want to leave. So that's why I'm zooming in here. I believe that one was supposed to be colored in. So making sure that there are things that I want to keep. Whoops. That was supposed to be back. Black, I mean. So getting rid of those white specks is going to be very easy right now. I just drop one of them, and we want it to be gray, so using the color replacer, and we'll get rid of those specks, and then I'll turn that black back to white, and it'll look cleaner than a whistle, I'll tell you what. Again, I'm not teaching the computer portion, just showing it. And turn that black back to white. All right, now I do need some feedback here, folks. What do I do with that background? Do I leave it like it is? Because I'm not trying to necessarily match the background on this one. I just want it to look good as a scroll saw pattern now. Should I take the whole background out, or just leave it like that and just make it that kind of abstract? Might be the route we go, because I don't know that I don't like it. Okay. time to do that work thing. See, yeah, it says Leonard Davis, and that was at 4:31, 5 minutes ago. Okay, so Aussie Man is voting more black background. Let's make a second version in case somebody wants this one. And we'll call this Chief Black Eagle 2. That's why sometimes you'll see two different versions of a pattern from me because I can't decide sometimes. So it'll take a little bit of altering, but not much. And so I'm okay with that. Let me thicken up some of the stuff in here, like the, whoops, I missed some specks, by golly. I don't like the specks. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing this on this one and not the other one. I guess I could do it on both, but I need to thicken this just a little bit. Okay. Now we need to make all of this. I have an idea. Okay, this is going to look funny at first, but y'all bear with me. I'm doing this on anything that is sticking out into the area that I want to have a dark background. That'll give me something to sort up of here. So this will make sense here in a second. When I color in the background, I'll still see that red. And then I can turn that red to white and we'll be good. I think. We'll figure it out. Nope. I screwed myself on that one. I'm doing this mainly so I can color in the background, then we'll see how it pops. Then we'll edit it from there if we need to. No real magic to this part. We just don't want to fill up the whole thing. We're only trying to color in part of it. So it's real sloppy right now. Okay, I believe, unless there's a break in one of these lines, this should color in the background now. Let me make sure. Down further down, make sure there's nothing that's going to jump in there. Nope. All right. And I saw another speckledy area. Dang, blabbit. I'm going to get that other part, don't you worry. Okay, here's where it's going to pop. Again. Boom. Okay, now we turn those reds to white. And then we will have one with no background. Boom. Okay, so there's a second version. Boom. I still feel like there's something I could do. Well, maybe I can minimize the squiggle on this first one. Take out some of that. I don't know how I like that, but we're going to go with it. So that's both versions. Not bad, not bad at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do here precisely is Now you will see how I put them for display online. Now we'll get back to comments and questions here in a second. Oops. A little too far there, Sparky. This is the part I go through to show the public generically what it would look like as a finished piece. Or what's the word I'm looking for? An imitation? Simulated, that's the word I'm going for. A simulated finished piece. But since there's two options here, I'm showing people both options of patterns they could have. All right, there are your two versions of Chief Black Eagle. By God. Okay, so you like the second version better? Good to know. Sorry about the ashtray. So yeah, see, that was an example of me, thanks to y'all's feedback, changing from the way it looked. Because y'all heard me in the beginning, for those that were here the whole time, that it was I didn't know how I was going to treat the background, but sometimes it may be easier for a beginner scroller, if they're going to tackle something like that, to add something with a wooden background, but sometimes just the fretwork makes it look better. I like the one on the right best too, if I'm being honest. By God, I appreciate y'all. Now I will start okay, I believe y'all picked. Let me get this out of here. I believe this is the one y'all picked for the next one, didn't you? Thank you, Patrick. Well, yeah. That's all right. I mean, most normal people are sleeping around this time. But I'm anything from normal. And Aussie Man is in Australia, and Herb Hoover and me are the only ones that are weird. Well, not the only one, just the only ones publicly showing it. So we've done one Native American, and we're going to jump right into another one. But if we do that, we're going to start another live stream just for the titling. And all right, so you have an hour and 15 minutes before you got to be at work. No, of course, that's what my clock. You're like an hour behind me, aren't you? So you like to have 2 hours and 15 minutes. Anyway, so that's what we ended up with, folks. I feel like I should share screens again and show y'all. By God, that's what we ended up with. This is the picture we worked from. I don't think we done half bad, so I think I'm gonna make this the thumbnail. Show people. I don't even know if we need that first version, but you never know. People, different strokes for different folks. But for the sake of visuals, there's the photograph I worked from, and there's the pattern we came up with out of it. And by God, I'm not disappointed with it. It's about time we had us a pattern live stream that I was happy with. So I'm a little tickled there. By God, let me screen capture this, and then we'll stop sharing. I'll absolutely put these patterns on my website for sale. If they don't look like crap, I'll be happy to put them on there. Yeah, I have nothing against doing that unless it's a custom pattern for somebody like your first Stagecoach one. I won't sell those unless they pay just as much as you did. But even then, I'd have to ask. Do you mind if I sell to other people if they want to pay $70,100? You guys got to make a living, doesn't he? So this will be our next live stream, which, barring anything out of my control, should be within the next 30 minutes. But the guy you're looking at now, his name is White Swan, and he is a Crow Indian. Doesn't sound right to say Crow Native American, but there's that. So Herb Cooper says, you were inspiring me to try to create some patterns. Well, by God, if you're not going to buy from me, I appreciate you making your own. That sounded ruder than I meant it. I meant that I was inspired by that. I'm glad you're inspired, because that's part of why I do what I'm going to do. I did not mean that as rudely as it came out. I meant it as in, I'm glad I inspired you, because that's the one reason I don't want to have sales, is people making their own. Because if I can help anybody, that's what I'm here for. And by God, I'm excited as holy heck. I'm glad that pattern went well. And this will be our next one, so be watching for notifications. If you're watching on Facebook, the video quality is usually better on YouTube, as is the chat is usually more active on YouTube. And I go by Charles Deering Scroll on YouTube, but you should be able to find me under Charles Deering. And if you're watching on YouTube and want to connect on Facebook, I go by the Charles Deering, and that's all one word. But if you go to YouTube, make sure you click on that bell to be notified, and also please subscribe. Click on that bell to be notified, and you'll know when the next live stream is. Sometimes I have 2 a day, sometimes I have 1. This one might end up being 3 a day because of doing 2 in a row. But I will be back. But in the meantime, y'all know what you need to do. Come on now, scroll on.